we say come one, come all. You're always invited to the National Racing Report, in which we are off and running as we finish off week number 4 at Saratoga Racecourse. In fact, Alabama week right around the corner. 1 p.m. Wednesday, we'll be back at it. Good to have you with us. Jason Blewitt, Andy Serling, Richard Migliore. Bittersweet how fast this summer's going. We're already in the second half, but we'll take a step back and check out what happened last week. A lot of turf and 2-year-olds on this show.
I would say that's about it. We saw some turf racing. We're going out of town for some big races to Arlington, but the 2-year-olds really shined this week.
Boy, I can't remember so many good 2-year-olds coming out in bunches the way they are this year. We've had good ones in the past, obviously, but I think this meet has been extra special.
No, I thought you saw some really nice horses. And fillies, actually. I think the fillies, and you said to me yesterday, Jay, the fillies have been more impressive than the boys in a lot of cases.
Yeah, we'll break down a couple of good-looking 2-year-old filly maidens who won as first-out winners, in fact, last week at the Spa. But we begin with Saturday's Grade 2, $500,000 4-star Dave handicap. A solid field went in. I think the biggest question, would King Creasa be able to keep that torrid downstate form? He's on the lead right now, and for whatever reason, just did not show up with one of his better efforts.
No, I mean, he didn't run badly. He only lost the race by less than a length, actually. But in reality, he set a very moderate pace, and a pace that Luis Saez did a great job of tracking with Grand Arch, and he just didn't have his usual punch here, Richard.
Well, I think Grand Arch getting that position, going forward into the turn, saving every inch of ground, not being far off a tepid pace was the key to victories. Obviously, Ironicus ran the best race of all. And how are you supposed to catch a horse if these fractions are to be believed, the last quarter in 22 and 3?
Well, we're seeing this going on over and over again. And in this case, there just wasn't a lot of speed on paper.
No.
But there are races where there's plenty of speeds, and guys are inexplicably taking back off of slow paces and changing dynamics of races. I think Javier was between a rock and a hard place back here, because obviously he wants to save ground. He's got a dead closer to Ironicus.
Sure.
There's nothing he can do. You want to save ground, but he knows that Seek Again's in front of him, and Seek Again is going to be looking to save ground and come inside of horses. So if he goes inside of Seek Again, he's going to be trapped for life.
Completely stymied.
He's got no choice. He danced with the girl that brought him there. He rode the best horse. He did the best he could. Just couldn't quite get there.
I think that's why they call it horse racing, right?
Sometimes you're just unlucky.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame him at all. I mean, this is the hand you're dealt, just what you're saying. And it's a good point about Seek Again. He only runs his A game when he's down on the fence in tight. Do you think, and this is just a thought I had, King Creasa would have been better served going a little faster?
You know, well, that's really the question. You and I talk about that all the time. What if he does go a little faster and create some separation? Possibly. On the other hand, the way Ironicus ran, I think if he went a little bit faster, Ironicus probably wins the race.
You know, it's a fair point. I just wonder, when you go steady 12s and then your horse needs to punch in 11s, maybe you're better off stretching him out a little bit earlier. I'm just looking for something.
I think it's a very fair point, and you know, it's not as though we're seeing these horses that go faster collapsing. We've certainly seen King Creasa go faster fractions and get it done. It's also possible that the older King Creasa isn't quite as fast early as he used to be.
Well, that's a very good point. And he did really relax better than I've seen him in the past. You know, his ears were up. He was enjoying himself on the lead. I don't think we should overlook the training job by Brian Lynch, who stated this horse gets good this time of year, and the ride from Luis Saez. Formidable combination the way things worked out.
I agree, and it's something, Jay, you and I have talked about with Brian Lynch. Guy came to New York full-time for the first time this year, and he has delivered, and that's a very tough thing to do.
And he's done well, I mean, with homebreds and fairly modest yearling purchases or auction purchases, and to bring Grand Arch back a year after this horse was beaten just a neck in the 2014 four-star Dave, I've got to think that was a pretty good feeling of redemption and overall success.
Absolutely, especially after not running well in the Forbidden Apple last time. And it's interesting that the Exacta in last year's four-star Dave finished 3-1 here, so they came back and they ran well again.
Yeah, it's nice to have that longevity. You get that with the turf horses, and we'll see who goes where regarding the crop out of this race or the group out of the four-star Dave. Ironicus is the one that I want, though. But the funny thing is, I was thinking if you had asked me the question in May, Shug's got a good one in the four-star Dave, I would have said, oh, it's got to be Reload. Reload's 3-5 to be that horse.
I agree, but Ironicus is vintage Shug McGay. He's done a sensational job with this horse. And of the Americans I've seen, and listen, I'm discounting Horse of California because I don't appreciate him as much right now as I maybe should.
Right.
This is the one you want for the Breeders' Cup Mile, depending on the Euros.
All right.
Absolutely, and he'll get pace in a race like that.
And speaking of the Euros, plenty of them to go around. And the next 3 races, as Arlington Park had their day in the sun. Felt bad for the employees of Arlington Park considering the weather. It got pretty nasty, and then a downpour right around the Secretariat through the Beverly D. Regardless, we have got Shining Copper who might be the best rabbit running in all of the world, on the lead in the Arlington Million.
And running very, very well and finishing third. I'd like to know what the real fractions this race was, because when you show a 21 and change first quarter, you know that there's something wrong, and it brings all the times into question.
Yep.
Regardless, you ran very well in finishing third. The Pizza Man, what can you say?
He's just consistent. He loves Arlington Park. He's in a great form now as a 6-year-old. He's undefeated this year, and he worked out the perfect trip. Big Blue Kitten, he had to come around. That was, again, you're on a closer. You're looking for your best path or your best trip. And I always think Big Blue Kitten's a little better when he does get that inside trip. He seems to be game inside.
I agree. It's not just a saving ground thing. It somewhat energizes him. I wonder if Joe was a little worried with the rain. He didn't want to make an inside move on this course, and he thought he'd be better towards the outside because he's ridden this horse so well that I don't think he just intentionally gave a less than great ride.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that it's something that's definitely on your mind. When rain hits like that and the course gets soft, it tends to get softer inside. And listen, he had his chance. The Pizza Man was resolute.
I agree.
So, I mean, this is a pretty game racehorse. You could see him right there. Great illustration of him reaching for the wire.
No, I agree. He did have his chance to win. And, part of that Up with the Birds coming up the fence with a perfect ride trip, and he's a talented horse, and he kind of flattened out a little bit in the inside. Slumber was unlucky in here. He was down in the inside, and he got badly stayed in the backstretch. I was a little concerned something happened. I was glad to see that he finished up in here, but clearly he almost got put over the fence in the backstretch and was not able to run his A race, whether he would have won or not.
Yeah, pretty rough trip for him. I don't know how much he likes to give in the ground. I think he likes to hear his feet rattle a bit.
All right, maybe Joe Hirsch Turf Classic for the Chad Brown horses, assuming they came out okay. The Pizza Man being pointed to the Breeders' Cup Turf. And how about real fast trainer Roger Brueggemann, who picked up a private training gig for Midwest Thoroughbreds, and he's landed the Pizza Man, who's an Illinois bred, winning the Arlington Million, and work all week. You're defending Breeders' Cup Sprint winner.
A couple of nice horses to have in your barn.
Yeah, no kidding. And we'll talk about the Beverly D. We'll break down the Europeans, and we've got that disqualification with Jamie Spencer. All that and more on this latest edition of the National Racing Report. Old Glory flying high and proud here. The summer place to be, August 3rd, 1863, still going strong. Plenty of history. Crowds have been fantastic here this summer and sport those red and white Saratoga colors this coming Wednesday, in fact, with that third giveaway of the meet. It's the old spa umbrella, the gift that keeps on giving when it rains.
No question about it. I've been using a number of them for years. They're great umbrellas. Happy to have them.
We haven't needed them much, Mig, though.
I'm so glad we haven't needed them, and hopefully it continues that way. We've been getting rain at night or on dark days. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
Been unbelievably lucky.
Now, Chicago, not really the case on their marquee day. Again, they had a heavy rainstorm right around the Secretariat, basically through the Beverly D. The grass is soft, and we will pick up Jamie Spencer's disqualification in the 2015 edition of this race. In the meantime, and we'll have a couple different views, you've got your defending Bev D winner, Euro Charlene, on the lead, and she just could not hold on.
I think it's amazing how well she ran, beating only 2 lengths, but she basically ran off on Jose Lezcano in this race. She was going too fast, and I think it's impressive just how well she ran here. But really, the pace held together to a certain extent because Secret Gesture, the horse who finished first, is stalking.
Yeah, and you'll see what Jose tries to do at Turn It For Home. He tries to give her the slips. The Secret Gesture kept on gamely, which a lot of times when you pull the rug on a horse there, they kind of give up. She came under heavy left-handed pressure, and ultimately it helped her run forward, but it also made her drift to the right.
No, I agree. She did, and you will see her drift to the right, and she's going to interfere with Stephanie's Kitten here, and Stephanie's Kitten getting interfered with, and Arad kind of doing a little bit of a Richard Migliore acting job here, ends up costing him second, and ultimately creates a situation where Chad Brown is able to get placed first and second when it might not have happened if he hadn't blown second.
Well, and I think that Never Say Die ride by Joe Bravo kind of helped facilitate this as well. And yeah, I do think Irad sold it, but you know what? Jamie Spencer created his own problem by drifting out. And the shame of it is that she was the best horse. I think she was going to get there, although she came out far enough that maybe she stopped Stephanie's Kitten's momentum enough to keep her from getting there.
No, I agree. It's possible that had Stephanie's Kitten finished second, that she would have stayed up. but I'm not really sure. And the truth is, the more we watch it, Richie, I think there's a good chance, even if Stephanie's kitten was supposed to come down, because Stephanie's kitten had of steam. She's also bearing out a little because she's tiring. Maybe she was going to get by her.
It would have been very, very close, regardless.
Yeah. And I agree. And if there's a foul like that, and I agree with you, Jay, you got to take the horse down. It's not fair.
Well, the rules of racing state you can't drift if you're not clear. This horse was not clear. He had horses running up to him, and he keeps hitting left-handed. And come on, Jamie Spencer, you're supposed to be a world-class rider. He should have switched sticks about five stripes before. He hit her 5 more times before he switched back to his right hand. That was amateur hour.
And correct me if I'm wrong, in Europe they're even tougher about stuff like this. He's got to know if you move out that many paths. In Europe, he would have been down in an instant.
Yeah, I don't understand, and that's what I said on the show when we watched it the other night on Insider. These rules are universal. They don't change when you get to another country. If anything, they're stricter there. Maybe he lost his mind, thought he can get away with anything, but he got taken down on Powers Court there in a million a few years ago.
Yeah, he's putting up quite a resume of some mistakes in big-time riders, races, especially for a big-time rider.
No, I do wonder if that'll be the last time we ever see him via the simulcast monitors at Arlington Park. We'll see. Time will tell. We will see a winning Euro, though. This one for Aidan O'Brien and Coolmore, the Irish-bred Highland Reel, who broke on top. And this was a freakish kind of performance. I mean, this horse just ran away at will.
Well, he had probably been watching races in New York and realized that guys don't like to go quickly up front, so he was able to establish an easy lead while going very slowly. But Richie, he was helped by the fact that Force the Pass didn't get out of the gate.
Yeah, Force the Pass getting left, and him just getting so comfortable. You knew midway down the backstretch, this race was over. This horse was just getting over the ground so well, and Shamie Heffernan, his rider, must have been going, wow, we don't go this slow in Europe.
It's amazing. He might want to ride in Saratoga next year or ride at Belmont Park. I feel bad about Force the Pass because he won the Belmont Derby so impressively that I think we really wanted to see if it was just sort of a flukish performance. Maybe he liked the firmer turf that day as well, and this course had more given it. I think he actually ran pretty well, making that big swoop from last. Unfortunately, got a little tired late making that kind of run after the break.
It was an okay effort out of Force the Pass because I'll tell you, around the 3/8 pole, it looked like he might not get anything at all, and on his sheer talent and class, was able to kick it into gear, and he'll lose second by just a head to a Belmont-trained horse in Closing Bell.
And Closing Bell's actually where his broke his maiden. I like the race it won at Belmont in the dirt. But now he's finished, I think he was 4th in the Belmont Derby and 2nd in the Arlington. This race, Secretariat, he's got a decent turf horse in his hand suddenly.
Yeah, and Force the Pass, so getting back to him, he did have a lot to do because of the start, and maybe that's part of the reason why he flattened out late and blew second. I tend to think maybe the ground had something to do with it as well.
I think there were a lot of factors that worked against him, and none of us are trying to say that he was necessarily better than Highland Reel.
Highland Reel
just
good.
He didn't get a chance to run his best race. But this horse, boy, they came here with the right horse, huh?
No kidding, and it appears they will be on their way to Australia with Highland Reel, who's a colt by Galileo. I read that Aidan O'Brien has mentioned the Cox Plate as a long-term goal for this horse before the season's over.
Well, worked for them last year. The horse that was the runner-up in our Belmont Derby went to the Secretariat, won the Secretariat, and then won the Cox Plate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting thing how horses can travel all over the world now.
All right, we'll see where Force the Pass goes to the Hill Prince 500K on October 3rd. I think Alan Goldberg has that race on the radar. Keir McLaughlin, he's up next with Sentiero Italia in Friday's Maker's Mark Lake Placid. Decent group of 3-year-old fillies. Not a big cast by any means in this race, and she was able to work out the perfect, basically pocket to 4-wide run winning trip on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, she really did. She got a nice ride from Joel Rosario. Everything Keir McLaughlin's been putting on the racetrack has been running lights out. They look amazing in the paddock, and they're running to the looks.
He's having a sensational meet. You think of his starters in the mid-20s, number of wins he's had. This is a very, very good filly. In fact, the first 2 finishers are very good. Sentiero Italia had run extremely well in the Belmont Oaks in finishing 4th, considering how close the pace she was. And Miss Temple City not only coming back 2 months after a race in Europe, getting not a good trip in this race, 3 wide on the pace the whole way. It was not a good decision early by John Velasquez not to be more aggressive and go to the front. They ran very well. These are very good horses. Obviously, Lady Eli is out, and she's a better horse than them. But I think the gap might be a little bit smaller than some might think. These are good horses.
They're very good horses.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, in prepping for Friday's Lake Placid, I had not watched the Belmont Oaks since wrapping up Belmont Insider on the 4th of July and watching Lady Eli win that race. I was once again blown away just how good she was. And that's been basically the story from day number 1 here last summer.
It's just a shame that, she had to go through this bout with laminitis. And, of course, the single most important thing is that she's going to be okay, regardless of if she ever runs or not again. She doesn't owe anybody anything.
Absolutely.
But what a scintillating performance that Oaks was, and just a horse that was exciting to watch.
And I think you bring up a good point. To see how good these horses are and know they can't handle Lady Eli just demonstrates how good she are. They're going to all be pointing towards the QE2. Whether they run in the Sands Point at Belmont or not, they're pointing to that. I think it's almost a shame, because I would like to see these horses take on the older horses in the Flower Bowl, because I don't see any reason these 3-year-olds aren't every bit as good as some of the ones we've seen. I don't think we're seeing nice horses that are older. These horses are very good, too.
Yeah, and I think the depth in the 3-year-old filly division, just what you're saying, makes it such a standout crop that you hope that some of them do take on elders. I mean, it's late enough in the year.
It is, and I'll tell you, they're nice, and what's the chances is improved as a 5-year-old. I would not be afraid to take on her and Stephanie's kitten in the Flower Bowl down the road. Now let's move on to Sunday's Saratoga Special here at the Spa. We've got our 2-year-olds, the 110th running, and this was a seasoned effort out of the eventual winner, Exaggerator, who ran like an older horse.
I agree. I thought it was a very cool ride by Junior Alvarado. He's inside. He knows he's got to hold his position. He never stays the horse out despite being there. He's a cool customer in here. But I also want to give a little love to the runner-up in here, Serling and Mischief, because he ran hard the entire way, and he really never gave up an inch.
Yeah, he did. It looked like when Johnny had him here, like maybe wanting to settle off the leader a little bit, he got nagged a little bit from the outside. It kind of kept him, I think, in the bridle, where maybe if he could have settled a little more, he would have had a little more left. I do agree with you. Both horses ran winning races, but you want Exaggerator going forward, going longer, don't you?
I totally agree. I don't know the Serling and Mischief where he's going to end up going or what race he'll win. This Exaggerator is a very, very good horse, a handy horse, and he's shown it in his last couple of starts. And I agree with you too, Jason. I think Keith DeSormo has really come to New York, and he's been very impressive with the horses he's brought and the job he's done.
And he's done it with modest purchase prices, something Mig and I talked about on Sunday's Insider. He's not running $750,000 2-year-old purchases, and this horse, and even Decked Out, who I think was second in the Schuylerville and 4th Saturday in the Adirondack, they both have run, seasoned races so far.
No, I agree. He's done very, very well. And shipped this horse from California. Broke his maiden just like 3 weeks ago, actually. Shipped this horse across country. Very good move, because even if he hadn't won, this race did not come up super tough.
Right.
So I think you can't always be result oriented. Even if he had finished 3rd, he picked a good spot to run the horse in, and he also is probably aware that it's not going to be easy to beat the horse that beat him in his maiden race, the horse for Doug O'Neill, Nyquist.
Yeah.
And he decided maybe the going will be a little easier there. It'll be interesting to see if he points towards a race like the Champagne, or if not, he'll go to Keeneland and run a race like the Breeders' Futurity.
It was interesting when he got through there and Johnny realized he was there. Johnny came back down to him, just close to try to keep him a little intimidated. We're watching the head on here. You could see he kind of came down closer. And there was a moment where you thought, well, he's a 2-year-old. Is he going to hang in there? And when he didn't hesitate at all, that's what makes me like him more. I like a horse that has that mental toughness to go along with the physical capability.
No, I agree. And we saw it last time when he was in good position but got completely shuffled out, and all the horses that he had to beat got momentum in front of him, and he just came around horses and ate them up. He's a very professional racehorse for a lightly raced horse.
And Keith DeSormo, as is his wont, MIA from the winner's circle picture. He saddles the horse, and that's basically it. He says the pomp and substance is for the owners after the race. And Texas Red coming up in the Travers here less than 2 weeks from now. Moving on to the 2-year-old fillies in the Adirondack, we will see a good horse race down to the wire in the 99th running of this race. And I'll tell you, it's Just Wicked and Tanasa put on a good show.
I don't want to knock Tanasa, but Tanasa got extremely lucky when Can Do didn't get out of the gate. And this was not like Serling and Mischief finishing second. The winner of this race was much the best. If Tanasa couldn't beat her under these circumstances, I don't see how she'll ever beat him in any fairly run race.
Yeah, because Just Wicked had to make a long, extended run to get to her. Jose Ortiz realizing that she's getting everything her own way. She's the horse to beat. I got to go after her. She basically made a 3.5 furlong run. For a 2-year-old to do that is impressive, and I guess the the 2 starts already under her belt previously gave her enough foundation. Steve Asmussen starting her on the turf before switching back to the dirt.
Could not agree more, Richie. I thought it was a very good ride by Jose, understanding the situation, doing what he had to do. This was a terrific horse race, and I'm not saying Sanas is not a nice horse, but Just Wicked is a better horse.
Well, she's been able to rate no problem, pairing up a back-to-back wins here. Ran opening day, comes right back in the Adirondack, and we continue to see the evolution of Tappet. I mean, the world-renowned stallion. You know, by the time I got into the game, Stormcat and AP Indy were already established as cream of the crop, elite stallions. But it's been kind of neat. I was talking to Eric Donovan on Sunday, watching Tappet from his racing days through what we're getting now with him as a $300,000 stallion.
It just feels like every time we're on this show, you're saying another son of Tappet, another daughter of Tappet. It just is a dominating side.
Yeah, and they do anything. They turf, dirt, long, short. And he's hit rarefied air. I think he belongs in that category of stallions you just mentioned.
Well, from Tappet to a 2-year-old filly by Big Drama. Turned some heads here, winning her career debut in an off-the-turf race here last Wednesday. We'll have the break, the entire race, when we come back. Saratoga will have you with us hopefully on day number 23, the Alabama, this coming Saturday. A Grade 1 classic for 3-year-old fillies. Looking for a leader on the dirt to step up. We mentioned Lady Eli with the Lake Placid fillies. Looking forward to that rematch with Carolina coming out of the Coaching Club American Oaks with Amma Chatterbox. And I know the Kentucky Oaks winner Lovely Maria is joining the cast as well. Let's move on to the break here with last Wednesday's 4th race.
Big Thrill gets completely left. She was the 3 horse who was all the way towards the back, and she got left at least 2 to 3 lengths behind the field. She's back in last, and Richie, she runs in a completely different race than everybody else in here.
It's remarkable what she did. She sat back at the break, and that's why she got left so badly. But then she basically towed Jose Ortiz into the race, running through dirt, running between horses. This was as professional and classy a debut as you're going to see.
You see her moving up inside here in the 2-path, and I'm watching the race, and I'm thinking, this is not a horse making a premature move. This is a horse that's just running faster than everybody else in the race. And as you say, professionally, she keeps a straight line the whole race and just runs by them all.
It was like driving a car. The only way I could describe it, when you sit on one like that, it's like just driving a fast car in traffic and changing lanes at will. I mean, she just was really, really good.
Wins are starting to pile up for jockey Jose Ortiz, who had himself a fine 4th week. And the funny thing is, we'll look at a couple races here from last Sunday. Not one of them was won by jockey Irad Ortiz, who walked away with a 5-bagger. Here's a first crop stallion in Big Drama, winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint back at Churchill Downs in 2010. And we have seen Lady Sheila's stable, certainly represented for a long time by La Verdad. Sheila Rosenblum has stepped up her game and spent quite a bit of money, $410,000 for Big Thrill.
And Big Thrill had worked a very impressive 20 3/5, the 2-year-old sale. It's interesting that Linda Rice had entered this horse twice on the turf. The first time she scratched when it came up sloppy. The second time, maybe she just figured I better run her. The track was also dry for this race, supposed to the other time. But you wonder, I mean, how could you not have this horse in the dirt to start with? Because her next start's supposed to be on the dirt in the spin-away, where she might be favored.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. And La Verdad, maybe at the end of this year, she might be looking at a broodmare career. Well, they got a very able replacement here in Big Thrill.
Well, as you're saying, Lady Sheila, she spent a ton of money at the 2-year-old sales. As we tape this, it's Monday morning. Well, Monday afternoon, she's got an $840,000 2-year-old purchase going out there. But I'll tell you something. This horse, she's already paid her way. She's already easily worth more than $410,000.
Yep, Linda Rice, good work at the meet so far. And let's continue on. We stay with the 2-year-old fillies and a comparable effort from off the pace. This was not blazing speed from the get-go with Tap to it, the gray.
Keep an eye on this horse who breaks slowly. Easy to see because she's a gray. Because, Richie, we want to show the whole race because she breaks slowly. She's going to stay severely here. There are at least 3 steadies in this race by this horse.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
one of them.
And right there,
Shuffled out.
when a horse checks out like that, a young horse, and then gets hit with a kickback, a lot of times that's it. Game is over. The fact that she was able to jump right back in the bridle and make up ground again as quickly as she did.
And now she's going to steady again right in here.
Yeah, it's really, we have been treated, though, to some 2-year-olds, and not just fast 2-year-olds, 2-year-olds that are showing the ability to overcome adversity.
No, I agree, Richie. It's very true. You watch the last winner and you watch this horse, and they're both horses that things didn't go well for them, and they showed the fact that it just didn't seem to matter. They just flicked away the trouble like it didn't matter. She's going to steady again right in there at that point, and she's getting her momentum going, and it's stopped and steady. It doesn't matter. She wheels the outside, and keep in mind, the horse that's making the lead in the outside was a Chad Brown first, and it was well meant. She looks like she might go on and win for fun. No.
No, as soon as this mare got clear, I mean, Jason, you could just see her stride change when she hit daylight.
Yeah, she looks like a winner here. Shane O'Lady has got the race done, sealed, delivered, and here comes Tap to It. It was purchased for $400,000 for good reason. She's another gray by Tappet out of the Grade 1 test winner from 2005. And leave me alone. Good to see a mare that did well at Saratoga, throwing her offspring and giving her offspring some talent.
I agree, a test winner, and she's got a horse that might be the favorite for the test right now going to next year. This is a very good horse. You never know how far they want to go, and just because they close doesn't mean they're going to be much better as they go longer. But whatever she does, she's talented.
Yeah, she's talented. But, it's interesting, and only time will tell. But you look at Big Thrill. She came from off the pace, got a smoother trip. She looks more of a sprinter-type body, where this filly's got more of a rangy, scopier body. It'll be interesting to see which one stretches out, or maybe they both will.
Whatever the case may be, we were treated to two very good 2-year-old fillies.
And Ralph Nix, by the way, the winning trainer of Tap to It here on Sunday afternoon. Let's backtrack to Saturday's first race. The car began at 1 p.m. It was a winner, in fact, for an exchange rate 2-year-old named Sallisaw. But again, going back to the Colts, and not to be too hard on them, I was more impressed with the 2-year-old fillies we've seen on the show.
I agree. Sallisaw got the absolute perfect trip here. Not trying to knock this horse, but being able to stalk 3Y when you had a real battle going on, I would say Blewitt on Brooklyn probably ran the best race of anybody between horses. But the way things are going for Kieran, he's got the right horses, he's drawing the right posts, and he's getting the right setups.
Yeah, the only thing Sallisaw did wrong was at the break, he kind of ran the empty space to the outside. Junior corrected him, and then he was in the perfect spot. And I agree with you. Blewitt on Brooklyn battled brutally hard throughout in between horses, and for him to hang on as gamely as he did, I think points him out as a horse you want to look at going forward.
I agree. How good this race is yet to be determined, but Kieran just seems to be doing everything right. But like you said, Jay, it was the girls, not the boys, that impressed.
And the girls will get their chance in the spotlight here on Saturday in the Grade 1 $600,000 Alabama. Again, going back to what I was trying to get out when we rejoined everybody for segment 3, we'd like a leader to step up on the dirt at this point.
No,
right?
I agree. It's very much open. There's Carolina. There's the 2 Larry Jones fillies. We'll see. Right now, Carolina's the leader, but things could change after the Alabama.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll have that entire Alabama weekend card for you next week on the National Racing Report. Maybe a little Midsummer Derby prep talk as well. Will American Pharoah come to Saratoga? The Pizza Man, however, the Illinois bred that delivered on Saturday. That'll do it for Andy, Meg, and myself. Have a great night.